All right, so thinking about a career as an import-export manager in textiles,
Yeah.
that's a whole world of global supply chains, negotiating deals, and maybe even some exciting travel. We've got a stack of RoleCatcher resources, career guides, interview prep, you name it, to help you nail that interview and really get what this job's all about.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating field. And RoleCatcher can really help you present yourself in a way that clicks with those potential employers. They use AI to analyze job descriptions and tailor your CV and cover letter so you're highlighting exactly what those employers are looking for.
Okay, so let's dive right into some potential interview questions you might get hit with.
Uh-huh.
Let's say they ask, can you explain your experience in managing import-export operations for textiles, including semi-finished and raw materials? Now, for someone who's new to all this, what exactly are semi-finished and raw materials when it comes to textiles?
Oh, good question. Think of raw materials as like the basic building blocks, right? Cotton silk, wool flax, synthetic fibers, that kind of thing. Semi-finished materials are a step further down the line. So yarn, woven, or knitted fabrics that haven't been made into like the final garment yet. So when
Well,
you're answering this question, you want to be detailing your experience with handling everything from those raw fibers to those fabrics that are ready to be sewn into clothes.
so you're showing them you understand that whole textile ecosystem from sourcing to final product. What if they follow up with something like, what were some specific challenges you faced in managing these operations and how did you overcome them?
Oh, that's where you can really stand out. Share a specific example. Maybe there was a time you had to deal with unexpected delays because of port congestion or like a sudden change in a country's import regulations. Walk them through how you solved the problem. Did you have to find different shipping routes, negotiate with suppliers, that kind of thing? The key is to show you can think on your feet and find solutions.
And RoleCatcher's AI can actually give you feedback on how those answers come across. It's like having a personal coach helping you refine those responses.
Exactly. Their AI analyzes your answers for clarity, making sure it's concise and relevant to the specific job you're going for.
Okay, next question. How do you keep up to date with changes in import-export regulations? This one feels like it needs a really proactive answer.
Absolutely. You can't just say, oh, I read the news. Mention specific industry publications you follow, like Textile World or Apparel Magazine. Maybe you're a member of a professional organization like the Textile Association of America. Show them you're really actively engaged in the industry.
That makes sense. It's about showing that commitment to staying ahead of the curve. Now, this next question is interesting. How do you ensure compliance with import-export regulations? It seems like it's asking for more than just staying updated. It's about how you put that knowledge into action.
Right. Talk about your process, meticulous record keeping, using compliance software, regularly reviewing procedures with your team. Maybe you have a system for flagging potential changes in regulations and adapting quickly. The more organized and detail-oriented you sound, the better.
And RoleCatcher has sample answers for these types of questions, right?
They do, and their AI can even adapt those answers to your specific experience level. So if you're just starting out, it'll help you frame your responses in a way that highlights your potential and eagerness to learn.
All right, let's move on to another common one. Can you describe your experience in negotiating freight rates and terms with carriers? This one sounds like it requires some strong negotiation skills, especially in a competitive market.
Definitely. Share an example where you successfully negotiated favorable rates while also, maintaining those positive relationships with the carriers. Maybe you secured a volume discount or negotiated more flexible delivery terms, something like that.
And should you be prepared to discuss different types of carriers and transportation modes?
Absolutely. Sea freight, air freight, rail trucking, each has its pros and cons. Understanding those nuances will show you're a savvy negotiator. You might even mention things like sustainability and choosing eco-friendly transportation options when you can.
That's a good point. Showing you're aware of those broader industry trends can definitely make you stand out.
It can, and remember, RoleCatcher's career guide dives into those trends in more detail, so you can really impress interviewers by connecting those trends to your own experience and showing them you're thinking ahead.
All right, let's tackle this one. Can you explain your experience in managing inventory levels for textiles and textiles semi-finished and raw materials? Now, I'm guessing inventory management is a pretty critical part of this job.
It is. This is where your organizational skills and understanding of the textile supply chain really come into play. Talk about things like forecasting demand, optimizing stock levels, minimizing waste, and maybe even using inventory management software. If you have experience with a specific system, definitely mention that.
What if they ask about a time you had to deal with, like an unexpected surge in demand or a supply chain disruption?
That's a great opportunity to showcase those problem-solving skills. Did you have to find alternative suppliers? Implement a just-in-time inventory system. The key is to show you can adapt and keep things running smoothly even when you've got those unexpected challenges.
And those real-world examples are exactly what RoleCatcher's AI can help you analyze and refine. It can help you pinpoint those most impactful stories to tell and make sure your answers are clear and concise.
Exactly. It's like having a personal editor helping you craft that perfect interview narrative.
Okay, this next question seems to focus on the people skills side of things. Can you describe your experience in managing relationships with suppliers and customers?
This one is all about building trust and open communication. Share examples of how you've, successfully navigated cultural differences, resolved conflicts, and made sure customers are happy. Maybe you have a story about how you went above and beyond to accommodate a customer's unique needs.
What if they ask about a time when a supplier relationship got a little strained?
Be honest about the challenges you faced, but always focus on the solution and what you learned from that experience. Did you renegotiate terms? Find a new supplier? Emphasize your ability to find those win-win solutions and maintain those crucial relationships.
That's great advice. It's about showing them you can handle those delicate situations with professionalism and diplomacy.
It is, and having that cultural sensitivity we talked about earlier is especially important here. The more you can show them you get those nuances of working with international partners, the better.
All right, let's tackle one more question before we wrap up this part of our deep dive. Can you give an example of a time you had to solve a problem related to import-export operations? This one feels like it's all about your problem-solving prowess.
It is. This is your chance to really shine. Choose a situation that demonstrates, your analytical thinking, decision-making skills, and ability to handle pressure. Maybe you had to deal with a sudden change in tariffs or a natural disaster that disrupted shipping, or maybe a quality control issue with a shipment.
What about the level of detail? Should you walk them through every single step of your thought process?
It's a balance. You want to provide enough detail so they can get a clear picture, but also keep it concise and engaging. Think about what key decisions you made, what information you gathered, and what the ultimate outcome was.
And remember, RoleCatcher can help you refine those stories and make sure you're hitting all the right notes.
Absolutely. Their AI feedback can help you spot areas for improvement and make sure your answers are tailored to the specific requirements of that job you're interviewing for.
Well, I think we've covered some really great ground here. We've unpacked some tough interview questions and gotten some really valuable insights from RoleCatcher's resources.
We have, and remember, preparation is key. The more you practice and refine your answers, the more confident you feel walking into that interview.
Exactly. And don't forget, RoleCatcher is there to help you every step of the way. We'll be back with more insights and advice in part 2 of our deep dive. See you soon.
Welcome back to our deep dive into becoming an import-export manager in textiles.
We've tackled some tough interview questions, but let's shift gears a little and look at the bigger picture, your career path in this field.
Yeah, RoleCatcher's career guide lays out a clear progression, from entry level all the way up to senior management.
Yeah.
So let's kind of explore those stages, starting with the import-export coordinator.
So if you're just starting out, this is probably where you begin. What does this role typically involve?
Think of it as the foundation. You'll be assisting with the essential import-export activities, preparing documentation, coordinating customs clearance, and really getting a feel for all the logistics involved.
Okay, so lots of hands-on experience and attention to detail. RoleCatcher even provides an example profile of someone at this stage, right?
They do, yeah. This individual highlights their strong organizational skills and meticulousness, essential qualities for making sure things are accurate in documentation and compliance with regulations.
So they're really emphasizing those core skills that kind of form the basis for a successful career in this field. What's the next step up the ladder?
The import-export analyst. Here you're taking on more analytical responsibilities, so researching market trends, identifying potential opportunities, and conducting feasibility studies for new vendors.
So you're moving beyond just executing tasks, and you're starting to contribute strategically to the company's import-export operations.
Exactly. RoleCatcher's example profile for the analyst emphasizes a strong analytical mindset and a deep understanding of, market dynamics.
It seems like each stage kind of builds upon the skills of the previous one, adding more responsibility and strategic thinking. What comes after the analyst role?
The import-export manager, which is the role we've been focusing on this whole time, right? This is where you take ownership of developing and implementing those import-export strategies that are aligned with the company's goals.
You're like a conductor of the orchestra overseeing all those moving parts we talked about earlier.
Precisely. You're managing those cross-border procedures, ensuring compliance, building those international relationships, and even like analyzing financial data to make informed decisions.
RoleCatcher's example profile at this level highlights experience in driving business growth through effective import-export strategies.
Yeah. And they also emphasize expertise in coordinating internal and external teams, which is a key leadership skill for an import-export manager.
And of course, staying up to date on those ever-changing regulations is crucial at this level. Speaking of regulations, let's jump back into some more interview questions.
Sounds good. Let's see. How about this one? Can you explain your experience in managing logistics for textiles, including semi-finished and raw materials?
Yeah, now this seems like a pretty broad question. Where should we focus our answer?
Focus on demonstrating your understanding of that whole supply chain, from sourcing raw materials to delivering the final product. Talk about your experience with different transportation modes like sea freight, air freight, rail trucking. Each one has its advantages and disadvantages, especially when you're dealing with textiles.
Okay, what about challenges specific to textile logistics? Say, like dealing with delicate fabrics or time-sensitive shipments.
Be ready to give specific examples of how you handled those challenges. Maybe you implemented special handling procedures for delicate silk or negotiated expedited shipping for a time-sensitive order. Highlight your ability to adapt and find solutions that are tailored to the unique demands of textile logistics.
And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can give you feedback on how effectively you're conveying these experiences in your answers.
Right. It analyzes your responses for clarity, conciseness, and relevance to the specific requirements of the job.
Okay, this next question seems to bring everything together. How do you ensure that import-export operations meet customer requirements?
This is where you showcase that customer-centric approach. Explain your process for gathering customer requirements, communicating those needs throughout the whole import-export process, and ensuring expectations are met or even exceeded.
So it's not just about moving goods, it's about delivering a positive customer experience.
Exactly. And don't forget to mention quality control. Emphasize your commitment to quality throughout that entire supply chain, from sourcing raw materials to final inspection.
Right, and those strong supplier relationships we talked about earlier play a huge role in maintaining that high level of quality.
Absolutely. Building those relationships takes time and effort, but they're essential for ensuring consistent quality and smooth operations.
Okay, let's wrap up this round of interview practice with a question that often throws people off. What are your salary expectations?
Ooh, this one can be tricky. Before the interview, research the average salary range for similar positions in your location. RoleCatcher can actually provide this data. During the interview, you want to express your enthusiasm for the role and highlight your value.
So it's about striking that balance between knowing your worth and being flexible.
Exactly. And remember, the negotiation doesn't end with salary. Consider benefits, vacation time, and professional development opportunities as well.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive. We've explored the career progression for an import-export manager in textiles and tackled some more challenging interview questions.
We have. And remember, RoleCatcher's resources are there to support you every step of the way.
Right. Their career guides, AI-powered tools, and sample answers can help you feel confident and prepared for whatever questions they throw at you. We'll be back with some final thoughts and advice in part 3 of our deep dive. See you soon.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the world of import-export management in textiles. We've covered a lot of ground, from understanding the ins and outs of this role to, mastering those tricky interview questions.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. I hope you're feeling more prepared and confident about, pursuing this career path. It's exciting. Absolutely. And a big thanks to RoleCatcher for providing those valuable resources along the way. Their career guides, AI-powered tools, and sample answers are a real game changer for anyone looking to ace that interview.
Yeah, they really are. And speaking of RoleCatcher, I wanted to touch on one of their key recommendations for, standing out in this competitive field: obtaining relevant certifications.
That's a great point. Certifications can really demonstrate your expertise and that commitment to professional development. Which ones does RoleCatcher specifically suggest for aspiring import-export managers in textiles?
They highlight this Certified International Trade Professional, or CITP designation. It's offered by the Forum for International Trade Training, or FITT. And it's globally recognized, covers a whole range of topics from international trade logistics to risk management and global trade finance.
Wow, that sounds pretty comprehensive. What else does RoleCatcher recommend?
They also mention the Certified Supply Chain Professional Certification, or CSCP, from APCS. While it's not specifically focused on textiles, it covers those broader supply chain management principles that are, highly relevant to this role.
So having either of these certifications could give you a real leg up in the job market.
Absolutely. They show potential employers that you've really invested in developing those skills and knowledge in this specialized field.
Now, before we wrap up our deep dive, I wanted to kind of circle back to one of the key themes we've touched on throughout this whole episode: the importance of cultural sensitivity when you're working in international trade.
Oh, that's so crucial to this role. You're going to be interacting with people from all sorts of different cultures, backgrounds, communication styles.
Right. It goes beyond just knowing the customs and etiquette of different countries.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being adaptable, respectful, and genuinely curious about other perspectives.
Exactly. It's about building those bridges of understanding that, foster strong relationships and successful business partnerships.
And RoleCatcher really emphasizes this in their career guide as well. They encourage aspiring import-export managers to develop their cultural intelligence. So learning about different business practices, communication styles, even taking language courses.
Those are excellent suggestions. The more you can immerse yourself in different cultures, the better equipped you'll be to navigate, the complexities of international trade.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought-provoking question to ponder.
Okay, I'm all ears.
How would you approach a situation where, like, a cultural misunderstanding arises during a negotiation with an international supplier?
Ooh, that's a great question. It really gets at, what makes this role so challenging, A&D rewarding.
It does. It requires not only that technical expertise, but also strong interpersonal skills and the ability to, navigate those delicate cross-cultural situations with grace and understanding.
Exactly. It's about being proactive, seeking clarification, and finding those win-win solutions that respect, everyone's perspectives and cultural values.
And remember, RoleCatcher's resources are there to support you on this journey. Their career guides, AI-powered tools, and sample answers can help you build that confidence and the skills you need to thrive in this dynamic and exciting field.
So to our listeners, we wish you the best of luck as you embark on your career as an import-export manager in textiles. It's a challenging path, but also incredibly rewarding.
Remember, stay curious, embrace those challenges, and never stop learning. And with the right preparation and resources, you can achieve your goals and make your mark on the global textile industry. Happy exploring.